Hello everybody, and welcome. We are here for the Spanish Grand Prix. We raced just a little while ago in Valencia, around the famous street circuit there, but this is the permanently built circuit, the Barcelona Catalunya, and we are so excited to be racing at this track for the full out Grand Prix race. We'll take a look because we've got the qualifying session just here, 5 minutes of running around the Barcelona circuit. The average lap time for your driver will be sort of, low to mid 33 seconds. Of course, this first lap, just the out lap, they're just getting the tyres all ready and prepared and trying to go for some pushing later on. So we'll see how the drivers in this field do. Of course, out lap still very critical because the higher up a driver is in the qualifying running tends to have somewhat of an impact on their final lap time per se. So we'll take a quick look at the team overview. Of course, the current grids has not changed since last race. The upgrades were done for both of the Spanish races. However, in the overview, something very interesting to note. So Team Velocity only 11 points behind BFX, 2 extra tokens to spend. They've got the exact same amount of PPT, points per token. However, they have 1.2 index worse car. That is a pretty big drop off as we see the first flying lap times coming in. And it's Menica on provisional pole position. Ikanlowski looking at a potential front row start as well would be really interesting. Looking back at this, so yeah, we've got the teams alternating by championship position, whether they have 7 speed, which is half the grid, in the odd numbered championship positions, or 6 speed, half the grid in the even numbered championship positions. A lot have very good acceleration. Fuerza Roja, the big outlier there, and grip swaying in BFX's favour. They have the fastest car, and we're going to see a lot of drivers in. The drivers who are not into the pit lane are Goose and Andries, and perhaps one more behind. Oh, if we can take a look, I think it's only those two have stayed out, and that will try and push their stints more end heavy, even though everyone should get 3 proper flying laps. It will make their stints a bit more sort of end focused for sure. Ikalowski running well in the session. He's currently in second place just on that outlap at the moment, and then he'll have the tyres, which will be starting to degrade a little bit, but getting on a proper flying lap. So those two drivers, Goose and Andrews, finally into the pit lane. And yeah, we'll take a quick look at the standings. Well, we just got some flying laps coming in. We're going to have the results of those pretty soon. But yeah, Rito's still in the championship lead despite a pretty bad 8th place finish, because those who did well, the likes of Kubo and Kado, Vladinator, Jaruni, and Fox, as well as obviously, with the exception being our 3rd place man, Grandy, we're all pretty far down the championship. Grandy and Hetmenica tied for 2nd, and there's the constructors you've seen already, very close between 8th and 4th place. As we see the flyers come in now, it's Hetmenica. Grandy has improved up to 2nd position. That's pushed Ikalowski down to 3rd, and Kado once again looking for a really solid race. He qualified 6th at Lisboa. He qualified 2nd on the front row and finished there in Valencia, and now he's looking at a potentially very solid 4th place qualifying position. But they should all have one more run to try and prove their mettle, and Hetmenica will come in, and I think many others will follow suit. I don't see many trying to extend, but Kado is. That's very interesting. So maybe trying to go for that flyer at the end. Vladinator also going for that extension of the stint. And the two that we saw earlier, Andries has just finished his flying lap. He didn't improve. And Goose has actually come in as well on the same lap as everyone else, which is interesting because he did try to stretch that earlier stint to give him a fast time this time around, but he might have actually pitted on his push lap, which will be intriguing. This is now it. I think Vladinator and Kado have to come into the pit lane and just give it one final hurrah, and they definitely will do. This makes the most of having the track right at the end of the session. They'll have some flying lap times coming in, but currently Grandy doesn't improve, nor does Het, Rito, Papi, this because they've all been on their outlap, remember. So just starting their outlap now is Kado and Vlad. I definitely didn't forget that. Yeah, it feels nice to actually follow the qualifying session properly. Normally you're sort of bombarded with so much information, it's quite difficult to do it all. But it was incredibly important for the likes of Kado and Vlad is that they do actually get to the line in time to start that flying lap, because they are looking good on their outlap at the moment. But here we go. The final lap for most drivers. We've got Grandy, who doesn't improve. Rito does, he goes third. Menica goes to the top of the timing sheets. I think he stays there, actually. Ikolowski improves to third place. Then Papi, Kado and Vlad are now on their push laps. And so they'll get that final lap to make it worth it. We've got Kubo, who did improve, but only up to P10. It's not a terrible lap from the now midfield running car. And Anti, I think, improved, but only up to P18. We'll have to see now what Kado and Co can do as the race, as the qualifying track leaders finish off the session. But Kado still has the last chance to put in this flying lap, and he doesn't improve. Does Vladnator? No, he doesn't either. So these will be your final qualifying results, and they are pretty good ones at that. And it looks like it will be a Porsche pole here in Spain. Menica takes pole for the Spanish Grand Prix. We'll have the full qualifying results just in a second. Here you have it then, folks. Menica pole position in the Porsche. Thunder X get their second consecutive front row start, also in the hands of Grandy, who took pole last time out in Valencia. They'll start in P2. Then we've got Rito starting in third place. It's good qualifying for him. He's had some decent qualifyings recently, hasn't made the most of it in race results. Ikolowski will start fourth for BAV. Kado fifth, another high qualifying for Zaroja's third start from the front three rows in the last three races. There we go. Euro starts sixth for Velocity. Papi will go seventh. He's qualified eighth last race and dropped all the way down to last place. So he's going to have to hope to keep that form stronger this time around in terms of race pace. Vladimir will start 8th. It's Abfer in 9th, a good qualifying from him. And Andres will start 10th. Kubo just got pushed down to 11 at the end there. Suicide will start 12th, ahead of Amazing. 13th place only for the Porsche driver, who looked to be an outside shout at championship contention. Needs to make up some positions in that Porsche today. Sobel 14th place. Pickram 15th. Then Goose and Andrew and Antti and Jaruni and Fox last on the field. The man who finished P6 last time out. Here is the token spend for Barcelona. We've got Ikolowski spending 2 tokens. He'll start the race from 4th position. Rito spends 2 tokens. He'll start on the 2nd row as well from 3rd. No massive high spenders. A lot of 2 spenders here today. Menica, 2 token pole position. Very impressive for him and Porsche. They do have the 3rd fastest car. Then we've also got Abfer spending 1 token, just as he did last race. Slightly more impressive qualifying this time around, but he will hope to score some points, even in that not great performing W-Tech, starting from 9th position. We've got Grandy spending 3 tokens, enough for the front row in that Thunder X, which is the tied 5th fastest car. We've got Vladnator using 2 tokens, who'll start 8th. He's going to hope to make up some positions in the race. Then we've got Kado, 3 tokens and a P5, not too shabby at all. And Papi, 2 tokens and a P7. Very nice qualifier from him and Papi Pops Racing. Pulling up the constructors briefly once more. Just take a look at the bottom, because Papi Pops trail Fuerza Roja by 13 points. Fuerza Roja also currently have the tiebreak with Kado's P2 in Valencia just earlier on. So we'll have to see who will survive that relegation scrap. Can Kado put Fuerza Roja further ahead? Will Papi be able to claw something back? We'll find out very soon. Here we go then, ladies and gents, for the Spanish Grand Prix. We're underway. Menica, the pole sitter, starts on the mediums. Grandy immediately gets the jump on the softs. Katni go round the outside into turn 1. Het's going to keep his nose up the inside. They go side by side through turn 3, and Grandy just has to back off. Going into turn 4, Menica maintains the lead. Ikolowski up into 3rd place. He's already jumped Rito off the start. Kado has held 5th. Eurus held 6th. Papi is going to try and make a move for that, and on the hard compound tire, he does get it. Grandy hits the front here. Ikolowski is going to go for an ambitious move up the inside into turn 10, the reprofiled sweeping corner, and they've got a huge run all the way down to turn 1 now, but EK right round the outside at the double corner. Kado with a bit of boost is going to boost past Het. He's going to boost past EK. Going to get all the way up into 2nd place. Yes, he can. Papi with a bit of boost as well. One of only few drivers in the front pack. Starting on the hard compound tyre, he's boosted his way past Rito, who's fallen from 3rd down to 7th position. Made that 8th now as Abfer mugs up the inside of him, and this man will not be looking to be in a good position. The championship leader needs to get better starts than this if he wants to try and maintain that lead, take his 2nd title in Ultimate Virtual. Grandy still leads. Ikolowski has gone through on Kado. Menica on the mediums has fallen behind Papi even on the hard compound tyre, but there's so much speed differential down that hugely long straight. However, the ebb and flow and the tow and push of the different cars means that they often have differing speeds at different points on the straight. That's fascinating to watch. Pappy to the outside of Het at turn 4. Can he find the room there? Up the inside, it's the hairpin of 5. Het's going to switch back though, and Het gets the move back past and up into 4th position. A great bit of scrapping between the Dutchman and the Canadian there. Abba, the Russian, looking for P5 here if he can. Suicide has made his way up into 7th position. What a great start from him on the soft compound tire. He's not spending any tokens a day whatsoever. Rito now down to 8th place. Grandy and Ikolovsky 1 and 2. Het has still maintain that 4th place at the moment, and we're going to get a huge train of cars further down. Urus, Pit Crew, Fox, Jaruni and Andrin. Vladinator, who's dropped down massively as well, down to 17th place on those hard compound tires. He is spending 2 tokens, but that SFR has not switched on at the race start, and he's lost 10 positions nearly. That is unbelievable. Antti, his teammate, now right behind him as he gets through on Goose. Kubo, very last position for our race winner last time out. Ikolovsky and Grandi across the line. Ikolovsky sets the fastest lap of the race so far. Het lining up a move on Caddo. Can he get it into turn 1? He gets the inside line. Caddo's going to get the better run through the mid corner. Caddo around the outside of turn 3 has to linear nudge Het through the corner, but Caddo will get the move back done, and he's moving himself, hoping to look for a second podium in 2 races, his second career podium, and obviously last time out was Fuerza Roja's first ever podium as well. We've got heavy rain on the way, so Caddo, after a disappointing start to the season, no points until Lisboa. Yeah, I think that's right. Grandy needs to just avoid. Oh, he's going to come out level with Ikolovsky, who can get the better run. It's just going to be Grandy who hits that exit limiter first, and Grandy will continue to lead. EK looks very dangerous, nearly has to bail to the run off a turn 1 boost all the way around the outside, finds the grip somewhere at turn 3. I have no idea where, but does get himself into the lead of the race. He's going to be looking for his first ever victory, potentially. Of course, this season so far he's finished 2nd place in Estoril after a late scrap with Urus, who came in for a very late pit stop. But yeah, other than that, he's not had a star-studded career. That was his first podium. He's looking for his first win. Grandy potentially looking for his 4th, I believe it would be. Caddo still holds 3rd. Pappy in 4th place. What a great start from him. Up from 7th. Het has had quite the opposite, but he is back up into 4th now. Abba in 6th position. He's made 3 places up from 9th, and while it went pretty poorly for him last race to only spend 1 token, it's coming off so far this race. Rita has once again falling down to 7th. He's once again spending 2 tokens. We have no idea what's wrong with that BFX that is on paper the fastest car, but he's just not getting the performance out of it. It's early in the race still. Andrew's not spending any tokens today, nor is Sobel, nor is Suicide, and they are the rest of your top 10. We'll have a look back at the front pack. I think there's a fight for the lead going on. Ikolovsky putting yet more pressure on Grandy. He goes around the outside. Can he replicate that move from a few laps ago? He does, but Grandy will have the inside heading into turn 5. No, he won't. EK will have it, but he takes a very narrow line, takes a bit of gravel, holds Grandy up on the corner exit. Grandy is just absolutely chomping at the bit round the outside at turn 9. EK did not use all of the track he had to his advantage there. He's going to get a better run through these sweepers now, and he gets back up the inside of Grandy. Now he'll get the better line through the double right-hander. EK will have the inside, but Grandy, especially in the wet weather conditions, you want to just have all the track you can use and not try and constrain yourself when there's already very little grip. Pappy up the inside of Het just gets him last minute into turn 1, but he takes so much gravel on the corner exit, just completely lost the car. He's going to catch back up to Het pretty soon, but that was an overtake failed from the Canadian driver. Abba and Rito, Andres and Sobel and Suicide fighting over 9th position. This is for 2 points in this race. Suicide back around the outside at 4. Can he make a move into 5? He keeps it clean out of the gravel. Think he'll keep that position for the time being. BFX is having another poor race here in Spain. They're not going to be a fan of this country. Grandy is in. Oh, he might just block off Caddo. No, he hasn't. But he will come out in 3rd place. Caddo will. He's on the hards, interestingly enough, so nobody yet going for the soft compound tyre. Even Andrews on the mediums, got 3 hard runners. Apple Amazing goes for the soft. Urist on the mediums. Jaruni in now as well. He's going to go for mediums too. Pit Crew, then Goose coming in very hot on Anti. Pit Crew does take the mediums. Fox, Kubo and Vlad all in. Goose goes for the softs as well. It's Fox on the mediums, Vlad on the softs as well. Kubo on the hards is just going to have a little bit of a scrap on the exit of the pit lane, and Andrin on the mediums, nearly a lap down from our race leader Grandy. That's what all the stoppers. 3 on the softs, 4 on the hards, and 13 on the medium compound tyre. Grandy now leads clear. Kado is going to be losing a little bit of time on this harder compound of tyre, and Hetmanica makes the most of that, just gets the acceleration out of 3 into 4 and takes a nice easy move up the inside of the track. Yeah, really good AI lines here, actually. The AI really just allowing each other room to fight, room to go side by side. It's really entertaining to watch, actually. Pappy, meanwhile, all the while in 5th place. Still, Rito's going to look to make some ground on him. I think he's gotten past Abva now. Andre's still slamming it out in 8th position. The fight for the podium rages onwards. Het up the inside into turn 1, and he doesn't make the Pappy mistake of running wide onto the gravel, and he does just get that nifty little inside line through turn 2, and he will try and make as much ground up. He will, of course, have done that based off the tyre advantage, but nevertheless a good overtake. He needs to close that 2-second gap to EK, who himself has a 2-second gap to Grandi. Fuerza Roja got their first ever podium at a home race last time around. They've got another home race to prove themselves, and let's see if they can do just that. Further down, Pappy is under pressure from Rito, who the Canadian himself chasing down Kado at the moment. The BFX driver on the hards is really making a push through the field here, and he's looking at the Canadian for his next target. EK's fastest lap from earlier still stands as the fastest of the race so far. He's going to have a slight crossover pretty soon. I think those mediums are starting to wear out. The hards are just going to come into it a little bit, and the back markers of course will play a factor, but up in front Grandi still leads Ikoloski, now very very close behind him, and EK might try an inside line up into turn 1. He's going very inside. Hetmanica out of nowhere gotten through on Kado. Will he go last minute on EK? They bang wheels through the apex of 1, but Het with so much boost down that straight deployed it just right and managed to get all the way away from Kado and up into 2nd position. Further back, Kado still looking to put pressure. Rito did at last get through on Pappy. We didn't get that quite on camera, but Het looking to hit the front here in Barcelona if he can get back onto the top as he started there. He's got a little bit to go though. He's got a lot of turbo to use, and I'll have to see when he decides to deploy it. None of the front 3 using it at the start of lap 15. Het just boosts a little bit more and a little bit more and a lot more through the apex of 1 and 2 and into 3 and 4, and he's so close to this race lead. He's so close to a potential Porsche victory. Will be the first since Malaysia, where he took victory there, and amazing yet to even get on the podium this season. Het has done that in Malaysia. Also a 4th place in Estoril, which he lost the podium on the line to Antti, who's taken a fair few podiums this season. In fact, he hasn't finished in the points off the podium so far. The man in 7th place in the championship with 48 points. We can pop that up for you if we can make sure that we're not going to miss an overtake for the lead. Yeah, there we go. Take a quick gander at that. Very quick. Het still chases down Grandi. They're both on the medium. The hard tyre runners theoretically should be coming into it a bit more. Kado has caught back up to the back of Ikoloski. Clouds on the way, but no rain as of just yet. Rito still in 5th position, just not able to make inroads on the top 4 at the moment. Hetmanica has dropped back a little bit, but he's going to get some good straight line down the straight. Uses a bit of boost at the final corner. Can he make a move? He has to go very much to the inside as Grandi goes to the middle of the track to try and get through on the back marker of Antti. Antti blocks Grandi, and the fins collide nearly. That was all profited off by the man in the Porsche, Hetmanica himself, looking for his 2nd podium, his 2nd win of the season, and looking to take that championship lead off Rito, which he will do. Funnily enough, we have 1st, 2nd and 3rd in the championship, all in the top 5 in this race, with Ikoloski, who's sitting in 14th, and Kado in 16th, joining them for company. So, sort of against the odds, and obviously still a lot of tokens left to play with this season, but yeah, it will be really interesting to see the championship implications all fought out on track here in Barcelona. EK has stayed out on the mediums. Kado is still hot on his heels, and Rito still with a pretty similar gap as before. Het still leads. They're both out on the hard, so maybe the outlap won't be quite as effective. But EK on pretty worn out mediums. Kado boosting and drifting through turn 9. He's starting to lose the grip on those hards. Gets a big wiggle on through turn 10, and we get to see this pack of cars, Grandi and Hetmanica, coming through now, and EK will stay out once again. He's decided not just to go for a 1-lap overcut, he wants to make it 2, perhaps get a catch of rain, a shower of rain, that might help to his advantage. Rito uses so much boost that the back end completely steps out on the entry to 1. He does just keep it together through the corner. That could have been a very nasty little off there, but he does stick with it, and Grandi has now cleared the lap to cars. Het has actually really dropped off the back of him, so he's not at all done well early in this hard tyre stint. Rito ahead, Ike surely into the pits this lap, and he is. Caddo will inherit the race lead just as he did for a short while in Lisboa. Rito in second place. It's going to be Grandi, then Hetmenica, then Ikolowski, who does come out ahead of Papi, who is not part of this front five fighting for the victory. A reminder of the token spends. We have Ike is spending the 2 tokens here today. He's just taken that overcut. All the front 5 on the hards, but to varying lives. Then we've got Rito on 2 tokens, Het on 2 tokens, Grandi on 3, and Caddo on 3. So that explains the slight increase in performance from the likes of Caddo and Grandi. But obviously, if you look at the car index, it can be a very different story. Let's make sure we get a bit of action with this as well. Yeah, Caddo and Rito now into the pits, and they're very, very much level pegging there as well. And Vlad just getting in Rito's way a little bit. Rito has to make a lunge up the inside into turn 1, and this is the fight over net P4, I suppose. Yeah, we'll take a very quick look at the overview, which does show that, of course, the different teams at play here. No teammates fighting. It is the BFX of Rito, which is 8.2 index. The VLO are not in this fight. The PRG of Het is 7.5 index, so it was stepped down. BAV, the second fastest car, on 7.7. The Fuerza Roja 6.1, the worst car on the grid. And who else is in the fight? Oh, and the THX, who are 7.0, same. Just a little bit behind the Porsche, funnily enough. So Rito back through on Caddo there. We'll keep our eyes to the front. It is as it was. Grandi with a 2-second gap on Hetmenica. That gap grew at the beginning of this hard tyre stint. They'll have a few laps still left to run on, but the hards looking to be the preferred tyre, or definitely the hardest strategy, looking to be deemed the fastest by the AI. There's definitely still some people going on that alternate strat, though. Suicide not spending any tokens here today. That's not Suicide, that is. Not spending any tokens here today is trying to make some ground up on the softs. Can he catch Sobel, perhaps, who's also not spending any tokens? Yet, curiously, these 2 cars that are very much on the opposite ends of the upgrade spectrum. At BFX with an overall of 8.2, have Papi Pops beat by 1 in speed, by 1 in acceleration, by 3 in grip, and by 3 in turbo. They are, on paper, a much better car, but I suppose it might just be that the stats really mattering at this track are the top speed and the acceleration, and on that they are only separated by 1. So there you go. Grandi still leads. We've got light rain on the way. Might see drivers coming in for inters, perhaps even some for wets, maybe some even staying out. Hetmenica in Mar, as we see often in real life, the first driver in for wet weather tyres, despite it being absolutely bone dry and still sunny, just until it turns to clouds there. But it will be not terribly time for our race leaders. It's not a short pit lane per se, but you do get a bit of running room at the start of it. These drivers need to make sure they have nice clean pit stops, and Grandi and Het will come out very, very close indeed. The sun's coming back. Will we see drivers not pitting for the wet weather tyre? We do see Suicide on the Inter. We see Caddo on the Inter as well. The Frenchman taking the less extreme degree of tyre. That could really help out, actually, because we're not going to have that much standing water. The rain is stopping. It's stopping, and it's stopped. They'll all be back in very soon. In fact, Papi has stayed out, as have Abba. They were both on pretty old tyres. We'll look at the others. Goose, Pit Crew has the best conditioned tyres out of all of those who have stayed out. So we won't see anyone per se making it a huge advantage, but has now caught Grandi. That gap has closed again, and Caddo looking to make some inroads back on Rito, gets the entire lap on the Inters. No, he's going to stay out again. That's fascinating strategy, actually. He's going to join this front pack, but the track is now bone dry. It should be interesting. He'll definitely have a decrease in grip. It's akin to having relatively worn tyres. It's not the worst grip in the world. It's not great. It's not nearly as bad as having wets on a dry surface, mind you, but around a hairpin such as that, it's really going to hurt you. The sun's out. The rain's not really looking that present. I think he would have been better just taking the advantage that he gathered off that one lap on the Inter rather than the wet and just coming in on that lap, but he's decided not to do that. He has stayed out, and he is now coming to the pit lane. Suicide, I think, yeah, also just pitted off that Inter. He was about a second behind Rito, would have been coming into the stops. He is now going to come out of the pit lane, and as we see him come off the limiter, yeah, 3 seconds is the gap. So he has made the wrong strategic call there. Hetmenica, we saw in that somewhat chaotic short 1 lap wet stint, did regain the lead from Grandi Ikolowski still in this fight, and Rito has a bit of ground to make up, but he does have the fastest car, and only Grandi ahead of him is spending more tokens. So, on paper, it's looking pretty good for Rito. We've got 16 laps left to run here in Spain, and these are 16 relatively long laps in all fairness, so still a lot that can happen, and still a lot that will happen. I am almost certain of it. Front four as they were. Caddo has really nicely closed that gap up. He's on the mediums, as is Grandi. So these are both drivers that need to be making that ground back up. Pappy on the mediums has stayed out, and that is an interesting call. Yeah, he didn't pit through the rain, and now he has decided to extend those mediums. Rain does degrade slicks faster, I think. Yeah, that sounds about right. So he probably wasn't. He was probably intending to do this many laps, but the tyres with the worst condition, he might have been better off cutting that stint a lap shorter. Andrews in 7th place. He's not spending any tokens. This would be a very solid little result for the British Aerial Virtual team, who were obviously, as he does get past Pappy, who has that reduced speed coming out of the pit lane, they were so used to being at the top with very few tokens last season. Oh my god, what's this happening? Hermenica has suddenly dropped completely away, and Ikolowski has gained 2 positions here. So Grandi must have hit the front with the mediums. That makes sense. Ikolowski has just blasted that fastest lap as well, that was set by him earlier, and he must have done that on hards as well. And he's absolutely shot up to the front. Rito's still not made any inroads, so it's not like this pack has massively dropped back. Caddo's still chasing down Rito as well, but Het was leading, must have been passed by Grandi, and Ikolowski just had a flyer of a lap, and he's had another one. This is a very, very, very solid pace from the man. Yeah, he's a second and a bit faster than Grandi. He's using these tyres to their maximum potential. He is literally lapping 1.2, 1.3 seconds per lap faster than those behind him. That's incredible. Rito's put in a relatively decent lap time. That hard has just switched on for him. That's amazing. Rito's now gapped Caddo. Pappy is holding on for dear life to that 6th place. It's only 2 tokens that he's spending, so 4 points per token for the P6, 8 points from that. It's not a bad result, it wouldn't be at all. EK might have taken too much life out of those tyres now, or he probably just came across a lot of back markers because he put in a near 35-second lap, and it's not looking that much better in Sector 1 this lap either. Grandi right on the back of him with the medium compound tyres, probably got the speed advantage down the straight. The hairpin's a tough place to tango though, and those mediums of course are more worn than the hard compound tyre, but he does get a nice run coming down into turn 10. He doesn't shape up for a move just yet, takes a very wide line, allowing those tyres just to have a bit of lateral force applied and decrease the tension needed, but he goes right around the outside of the final corner, runs out of boost as he does it. EK has a bit to fight back with, has decided that now is not the time to really fight with boost. He's going to sit in behind the Finn for the final 11 laps perhaps, and Hetmenico was leading, is absolutely nowhere now. All 3 of these drivers in pretty decent cars, not top cars. Ikolowski, the second fastest car, but they're no BFX for sure. The Porsche is rapid, but it will be amazing for Grandi to win this. He needs to do it on strategy, because that Thunder X is 0.5 index slower than the Porsche, at 0.7 slower than the BAV. The BAV, speaking of, gets back through on Grandi down the main straight, interestingly enough. Hetmenica behind closely. Rito and Caddo scrapping it out down that main straight, and Caddo goes very much the inside, will merge back to the outside line and just move through very nicely on that medium compound tyre. Took him quite a while, but this is probably going to be the fight for 4th unless we see some big gaps being closed up. It's been done before. Randy still having a pop at EK. They must have switched positions earlier in that lap because I think they've been switching around on the HUD most definitely. EK though running away a bit now. Granny might be in a lap, well, boxing this lap on 35 I think is probably the right call for that. Hetmenica goes through Caddo and Rito side by side. Rito getting a really nice exit and just sort of coasts away from him down that straight, regains a bit of charge coming into the braking zone as well. And then it's Pappy and Andres side by side over 5th position at the moment. Abba in 8th place. Sorry, they're 6th and 7th at the moment. Abba in 8th place. As it stands, Sobel in 9th is in to the pit lane. Then it's Suicide and it's Apley, it's Eurus, then Andres. Sorry, it's Goose, Jaruni, then Goose. Pit Crew Goose, Vladinator, Anti-Kubo. I'm going to stick to my job of just commentating the front runners because Rita's at the front. What is this? So Ike's come in, Grandy's come in, Het's come in, and Kado has come in. Rito now leads, and a bit of just a sprinkle of rain now would be oh so nicely timed for the Polish driver looking to take his first win of the season. The bridesmaid, never the bride, I think, so far this season for him. Second place in Monaco behind Kubo. Second place in France behind Grandy. Third place in Lisboa behind Andries and Goose. As we see Grandy get back through, he's on the softs, as is Hetmenica, Kado, and Ike have instead opted for the mediums and back up the inside. Ike goes on those medium compound tyres. 7 laps left to go here. And it should be a pretty exciting finish to the race. Rito is on old hard compound tyres. Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes down. He's still holding on to that lead for the time being. Ikolowski back up the inside to the outside. Rito still fighting that down to the last couple of corners. Does take the inside line to go into the pit lane. Out of the way there, but Grandy gets a great run, much better than Ike. And Grandy hits the front on lap 38 here in Spain. Hetmenica will still take third for the time being, and funnily enough, despite that massive overcut, Rito has done better than Kado there. Kado is still just the second behind. That is, I suppose, what happens. Even though he's spending a token more, he is just in a substantially worse car. I think 2.1 index points between them. It's not. It's pretty night and day there. Hetmenica is once again just faltering away from this race lead fight. His only real opportunity will be getting those softs really pacey and trying to close that gap up to Ikolowski. Grandy meanwhile leads and has the fastest lap of the race and is on course to take the championship lead, which I don't think is something that he would have been predicting, especially with a car that has never really been that dominant at any point. After today, remember, he'll only have 2 tokens left to spend. We'll put that up for you at the moment. So there'll only be 2 tokens left for Ike, 2 left for Rito, 2 left for Het, 2 left for Grandy, and 2 left for Kado. So still some drivers with a few more tokens to spend, but Grandy looking really good for a race win and championship lead as it stands. 4 laps left here. Het has just fallen further off the back. Rito is trying to catch him, as he should be doing, spending the same number of tokens, but with a car that is 0.7 faster in the index rating. Kado might just have to settle for 5th here. We've got a good fight for 6th. It's Papi. Andrew's just a bit behind him. Abba still in 8th place with just the 1 token. The reverse of last race. He's done really well with that 1 token. Might just end up with 4 points per token. I think 6 would be a stretch. We've got a fight over the podium though. It's Rito and Hetmenica. Rito nearly onto the gravel there. He needs to stay out of the way of his teammate. Just sneaks through, and Het can't get through quite as successfully. And that will really pay. So that's really interesting to see. Hetmenica in 4th place. Rito just a bit ahead of him now. That's the fight over that podium position. The fight over the win still up for grabs with Grandy on the softs. Those softs will probably be falling off, so we'll have to wait and see how that's going to work. If he's going to still be in a good position to finally get that win that he's been aspiring after that second win of the season. After Le Castellet, he got a podium. Of course, last time out it could have been a win, but Kubo did very well, and finishing in 2nd place was Kado as well, so he did very well. But here comes the fight from Ike. Ike looking for that first career win. Grandy for his 4th. Can Ike try and get yet another win for British Aerial Virtual? It would be their 2nd in 4 races, 2nd in 3 races even, with Andries winning in Lisboa. Andries not really fighting up at the top at the moment. He's going to have to settle for some minor points, but we head now onto the final lap of the race, and Grandy is still just holding off Ike at the moment. He's on the soft, Ike on the medium. The medium has just not quite come into it, but we've got some challenging grip corners coming up now. Grandy needs to just traverse them as well as he possibly can. Ike gets a much better exit through that hairpin. He needs to stay tight here, he needs to stay strong, and he might be able to get him through the final section of the lap if he's really careful. Grandy will just hold on. Perhaps he's got 2 corners left to go for Grandy for Thunder X. It's celebration day. It's their 2nd win of the season. Grandy takes the championship lead as he wins the Spanish Grand Prix. Ikolowski in 2nd place, and it's Rito who does take the podium. Hetmenica massively fell off, and Kado will get 4th place. It looked like a dream for Porsche with Het leading. He has really fallen badly off, and he will finish in 5th position only. Rito was really close to making the gap back up to those race leaders right at the end there, and Pappy will take much needed points. Full Pappy pops, not enough to get them back ahead of Fuerza because Caddo finished 4th, but Andrews will take 7th. It's going to be 8th for Abva. Good points for him and WTech. They're not looking too fast at the moment, skirmishing down at the lower midfield positions in the Constructors' Championship. So they do need any point that will come their way. Sobel will come home across the line. It's going to be a very solid 17 points for BFX this race. Rito would have hoped for more though. Apple Amazing will round it out and he'll finish 10th place. No tokens for him, but that keeps up his record of being the only driver to score points in every single race so far this season. Here are your final results. Oh my lordy lord, it's a tie for the fastest lap of the race. I believe though that goes to Grandy, because he was on the HUD for it first, which would imply that he set the fastest lap before Rito did. So Grandy will take the fast lap of the race as he wins the Spanish Grand Prix and takes that championship lead. Does he? Yes, he does. Takes that championship lead off Rito. He outscores him by 11 points. That bridges the 8-point gap to Rito. Had Rito caught Ike, it would have been a bit more nip and tuck. I think they might have even been level, depending on who got the fastest lap, of course. Every point matters here in Ultimate Virtual. It's going to be Caddo in 4th place for Fuerza, and Het in that final stint really fell off. Only 5th for him and Porsche. They'll take 11 points home with Apple Amazing in 10th. Between them was Pappy, Andries, Abba and Sobel, who will all be happy to take minor points for their respective teams. Suicide just outside the points. It's going to be Jaruni, then Eurus, Vladinator, then Goose, Pit Crew, Anti, Kubo, Andrin and Fox, the rest of your field. It's been an enthralling Spanish double header. We've got 3 races all in a row in Italy before the season finale, also in Italy around the Monza banking circuit. I really hope you're excited to see the final 4 rounds of this Ultimate Virtual season. We'll see you very soon, but until then, bye bye.